Introduce us
Hello.
to your dead podcast.
Hello, everybody. Fuck.
Sorry.
Hello.
Too soon.
I'm doing it. Welcome to the Gosh Daniel podcast, a podcast that we don't do anymore, that I haven't hosted for 2 years.
Yay.
Okay. Welcome to Movie Overload, a movie podcast that we do that's like a book club movie podcast thing where we are discussing 100 films throughout the history of cinema, from A Trip to the Moon to Parasite and everything in between except for Woody Allen. Fuck.
Yeah.
Heck that guy.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
what we're doing.
I normally don't do the intro, and I usually come in with "fuck that guy," but I had to
that's
just
true.
fit it in just now, and it was weird for me. But there we go.
Yeah.
Fuck Woody Allen.
You did good.
Thanks. I appreciate
It works.
We're here, and it's episode, I don't know, 27, I think.
We're in the 30s, aren't we?
Episode
We're in the 30s?
1962.
Episode
Reasonably certain.
1962.
Well, yeah, that's
we've done it. We've cracked like the vast majority of decades now that we're covering, right?
This will be episode 32.
Yeah, that's pretty good. We've made it into our sixth decade. Sixth decade.
Almost a third of the way through the podcast.
Which really makes it feel like it's kind of bottom heavy, I guess, the list, now that I think about it. I tried to make it even, and I didn't, because I don't think we covered any movies from the 10s. I think we just skipped over the 10s entirely.
I mean, I feel like that's not our fault. I feel like it's the fault of the 10s.
Fair.
We'll make up for it in the 2010s.
We're a 10s hate podcast.
shouldn't have sucked so much.
I mean,
nothing
the
of value in the
fashion.
10s.
Speaking of fashion, the fashion in this movie,
Oh my gosh.
chef's kiss.
The second dress that she wears.
Oh, with the little pleats.
Yeah, that was incredible. We were watching it together over the teleparty, and we were just both chatting about that the entire time. It was really good.
Yeah.
Fashion's
Also,
very good.
I'm not gonna lie, I liked her hair way better without the wig.
It's way better.
Like, just the little curls and like her little fringe, so cute.
Yeah, the wig that she had originally was like just like a very flattened Marie Antoinette type. Like it's just a bit too much. But you know, as soon as she took off the wig, I remembered that it was a wig, because I have seen this movie before. I have raved about this movie and kind of ranted about it to people, and I didn't remember what I guess is kind of a pivotal bit in the movie, you know, thematically at least. Anyway, it's good. I like it. Oh, by the way, my name is Tofu. You can see this if you're on the YouTube.
Wow.
And with me, as always, or as usual, is different people.
I'm Hunter.
I'm Anna, which I guess if you're watching on YouTube, you can see that I'm Anna with no H's.
Wow.
And if you're listening, I'm Anna with no H's.
So now we all know.
Yeah. In case you forgot.
It's been a bit since we recorded.
Yeah. Gotta get back into the groove of it.
Technically it hasn't been, because we're always recording every time somebody's listening. So this is actually
true.
live. Even if you can't see a little chat on the side of where you are, this is a live stream directly to you. And if you pause it, we will just sit there in silence and not move until you hit play again.
I used to imagine that the CD I would listen to as a kid had like a live band on top, like the CD player had a live band on top, and I always felt bad because I listened to the CD like 4 times in a row, and I was like, sorry guys, you have to play it again.
I don't think I ever thought that something like that was happening, but I definitely always thought that, like, for example, like my toys were real. Like I definitely thought they were all alive. Well into like my tweens, I think I was pretty confident that like if I had like a stuffed pig or something like that, and I like let it fall behind the bed and collect dust, that it would like, you know, hate me forever and
I'll get revenge on you someday.
Yeah.
Sounds like Toy Story 3 to me.
Yeah, I guess that's basically. Wow. Yep. I hated that movie.
I didn't
obvious
like
reasons.
it.
It upset me.
Yeah. And I don't like things that upset me.
Exactly. That's why. I mean, hey, that's why we liked to shit on Gone with the Wind. It is upsetting.
It is.
and racist, like potentially part of this movie as well. We're actually
I was
we
gonna
haven't
say,
introduced-
speaking
yeah.
of racism,
Really weird.
but we're talking about Cleo from 5 to 7, a generally good movie. But what is that one bit?
I don't know.
I think the moral of the story of the entire film is that sunglasses, hear me out, make you racist. As long as you don't wear sunglasses, you're fine.
Yeah.
Which makes it awkward for Agnes Varda's lifelong friend, JR, the photographer, that is only seen wearing sunglasses.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah.
And also, I feel like all of France in that new wave era, like sunglasses are kind of like the look. But also, I feel like I've seen so many images of I blanked on the director's name.
Agnes Varda?
Yeah, well, I already said it, didn't I? Anyway, I've seen several images of Agnes Varda wearing sunglasses as well. So I guess she's letting us know that she's racist.
But only sometimes.
Okay, but also, what is the point of it actually, right? Because there's that, whatever it is, chapters 7 or 8 of the movie is this, like, you know, overcranked, like old-timey footage
Yeah.
thing that's supposed to be a comedy, but is what happens, the guy thinks that his girlfriend, because he's wearing
Dies.
sunglasses, he thinks she's African American, and then she dies.
It's weird.
And then
like,
he takes off his sunglasses, and then
I feel like time-wise, it doesn't make sense. Because, yeah, he, like, puts on the glasses, and it puts him, like, in this mirror world, apparently. where,
Right,
like,
because he looks the wrong way.
yeah, it's all reversed, and everything's dark. Like, the car is dark, and she's unfortunately dark in a weird way. And then that all plays out, and then he, like, goes and buys the big flower thing, and he's, like, crying, but then he takes the sunglasses off and is like,
Because he was crying.
yeah. And then it all plays out again, but, like, different, and everything's
But
white.
in the story where he's not wearing sunglasses, she doesn't die. Spoiler alert.
and she's also white.
Yeah.
But the other guy dies.
It's weird.
And he,
It kind of reminded me of They Live, just because of wearing sunglasses. The John Carpenter movie.
oh, okay.
Because that's one where he's like finds sunglasses, and it exposes the rich people as the creepy alien monsters that they really are. That's a fun movie. It's weird. That's not actually that related to what happened.
I was trying to think
this,
of, like,
but,
if this is thematically related to this
it
movie.
definitely is not.
It makes it more racist. It's not.
No, it really is not. It just made me, I think of it because I was like, oh yeah, when putting on sunglasses makes you, for some reason, see the world a different way. But other than that, it's not at all related.
Gotcha. Well,
That's it.
You
That's all I
know,
got.
I guess that also has been taken from Agnes Varda, like everything else. I was watching this and realizing just how much influence this movie seems to have, at the very least visually, on like everything that I like. Like when we watched the 400 Blows, there were some elements of the way that it was shot that like felt like, for example, something that happened in Frances Ha a lot of times. But this movie, like, way more than anything else, like, so much of this movie is people like walking on like the side of a street, and Agnes Varda is shooting it from it, like, kind of a close up, but like from inside a car as it's moving.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
and that's every shot in Frances Ha.
Yeah.
Like literally every
There's
shot.
a lot of driving and moving in this. Like,
She's very busy for what takes place in an hour and a half in real time.
Not gonna lie, it took me a long time to catch on to the title cards.
oh yeah,
I was like, it's in French!
it's kind of cool.
Blast! And then I was like, oh my gosh, it's time!
It's time, and then it's also shows the perspective character, which, you know, for the whole first bit of the movie doesn't matter because it just says Cleo over and over and over again, until at one point the camera, she leaves the frame and it like stays in on Antoine, and then the new title card comes up and it says Antoine, and then you're like, oh my gosh, that pays off, which I don't know. I thought that was really neat.
Interesting. Did not
And then
notice
and then the last title card is Antoine and Cleo, which is it's interesting, right? Because she spent most of the movie with other people, and they don't have that kind of importance. They aren't considered a perspective character, and in a way, she's not really herself with anybody else. I don't want to dive in like instantly into like some of my interpretation, but like I think there's sort of this notion of she's alone just entirely until she meets Antoine, and she's consumed even when she does have like space by herself to be able to deal with like obviously the very like dark lingering, like I have test results of me potentially having cancer that I don't know yet, and I'm worried about it. Even in all of that, she doesn't ever give herself space to breathe. She's still thinking about the way that other people perceive her. Even after she takes off the wig, you're able to see like she's a bit more of herself, but then she goes on a walk, which you think is her gonna kind of just be by herself and reflect and whatever. And then like, what does she do? She like goes to the cafe and goes to the jukebox and plays the song that she made and just walks around to see what everybody else thinks of it. She's just always kind of consumed with herself. And then you kind of finally see at the end of the movie that she's not. Like the when she finally gets back the results after all of this time of stressing out about it, she's basically saying like, I feel okay right now. Like, look, it's so beautiful here in this garden and whatever. She's kind of let it go, and that's when the news finally comes. Now that she's actually like prepared to handle that news, I guess. That's my thought.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was just very impactful. I got to see the last bit of it again for second or third time or whatever, and I don't know. It was meant a lot. Do you guys have any interesting things to bring to this? So it's
yeah. I mean, I've been thinking as you're kind of going through the timeline of her becoming comfortable with herself, and so she takes off the wig and goes into the cafe and is still showing off for the world, and she goes on this walk and she's looking at people's faces almost to judge their reaction to her. And I thought that was really interesting, especially with beauty and vanity being major themes in this movie, that she's looking at other people so often and looking at other people to see how they perceive her, but also, are they beautiful? Do they think I'm beautiful? Do I think they're beautiful? And I feel like the first point of transition is when she meets her friend in the sculpture studio, and she's like, oh my gosh, you are being looked at in your rawest form. And I don't have the confidence to do that. And I think that's the first place where she lets down her first guard, if that makes sense. Where she first realizes how real her friend is and how confident she is in her body and how Cleo can also be that confident. And the second stage of transition, I think, is when she's in the park and she's walking around and she's like singing her song, but clearly very self-consciously singing. And she's walking down this path and she like turns her head and all of the benches are empty. And she realizes that there's nobody there to be singing to be performing for, and she stops and kind of shuts down until Antoine, is that his name? What's his name?
Antoine? I'm not a French person. Antoine is probably actually how you pronounce
that boy.
it. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Until he comes, and that's when she really begins, I think, to see herself. And it's interesting because you would think that someone in her position, when confronted with a man that clearly thinks she's attractive, would become more self-conscious and more wanting to put on airs. But the fact that she almost decides to be real with him, I think that's really interesting. That, like, even before he brings up the concept of nudity and nakedness, she's already decided to be, for lack of a better word, nude with him, which I think is really cool.
Yeah. That is really interesting. Yeah, that's a theme in that movie that, like, I could tell had significance, but was feeling like it was kind of passing me by a little bit. because I was busy just being like, I could never do that. Like, I also am in a position of, I guess I feel like maybe a lot of times thinking a lot about how I'm being perceived and not ever just like being that like full raw honestness. I feel like there's a lot to take from this movie, even if maybe Cleo isn't like, I don't know that she's a character that people are supposed to like look up to and take from so much as experience what she's experiencing with her.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's, I don't know. I have to think about that more.
It's definitely like I unfortunately watched this movie in kind of a cramped time period. I the last few days were weird, and I might have watched it kind of right before we recorded, so it was a little cramped, and I honestly feel like I didn't fully take everything in. So I want to watch it again, give it all another shot, and I've just kind of found that movies like this generally don't have their full impact on me the first watch, which I guess is true for a lot of movies. So I want to revisit it, but like, I don't know. I kind of saw what they were trying to do, and I do like it, and I don't know. Yeah, bits still stood out that feel thought-provoking that we said. Like, again, just talking about her model friends, like, I think she had a line in there where she said, like, isn't it something like, my body makes me happy, not proud, or something like that?
Yeah.
And I thought that was something that could be very interesting to think about, like, not just about one's physicality, but just because I feel like I hear people talk about like being proud of your work or something, and I'm like, what would it mean to be for that to be something that you're happy about and not just proud of? And I'm like, that feels interesting, and I would like to think about that more.
Oh, that's really
especially if your body doesn't make you happy. Like,
Yeah.
there are definitely days, just to be real, like, I'm not happy with my body, but even if you're not happy with it, you can still be proud of it and proud of where you've come and where you're going, or just the fact that you're able to look at your body and change the way that you would like to think about it and treat it. I think that's a really valid approach, even just as body image, is to say, no, I'm deciding to be proud of my body, even if I'm not happy with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
just kind of
pride that's internal, I guess.
Yeah, just drawing the line between those two things, I guess, was something I hadn't really considered before. It was kind of interesting.
Yeah. I think there was one line that that the model friend had as well that like particularly stood out to me. When Cleo had talked about, she was like, "Oh, you know, people don't like my music. I went and I played it in a cafe and they didn't care." And she said, "A cafe is not a concert hall." It's one of those lines that you're like, oh man, like in the context of this conversation, it's just like, you know, maybe just like some sort of like flippant thing. And you said, well, you know, people will probably like your music, but like that actually has a lot of significance as a line, just in, I guess, in regards to the way that, yeah, again, it's all about like the way we view ourselves more so than it's about the way that other people view us, even though that's the thing that Cleo is constantly thinking about is how she's being perceived. The entire movie is talking about how to perceive yourself, and the idea of like kind of there's a time and a place, and what I have is valuable in a certain context, in a certain place. But you know, everybody in the cafe doesn't need to like my music, but in the concert hall, it's something that can be celebrated.
Yeah, it's like you picked a random group of people and played your music casually in front of them. Like, you know, some of them might have liked it, and some of them were just as likely to not enjoy it. Like, it just doesn't really matter. But like, yeah, there's also going to be at the concert hall is going to be an entirely different group of people, like who are coming specifically to see you. It's like,
right. Yeah. It's like we can try to get our value from like the impression that we have on, you know, the person next to us casually, or like, you know, if you're sitting in class and somebody's like, I like your outfit, by the way, or whatever, that's like the thing, you know what I mean? But ultimately there's more importance to be found in like kind of being excellent or being who you are in that right space, maybe with the right, in the context of the right people. Like what Antoine thinks of her, perhaps more valuable, you know. I don't know. I think that's really interesting. I don't. Did any of us end up doing any like particular points of research? Because I don't. I don't want to do the thing where I say all the things all the time. Well, in the meantime, I will bring up a point about music that we can patch in here.
Do it.
So real quick, I wanted to talk about the music in the movie because I read a really interesting piece that I guess we'll probably link in the show notes. But there is I think a lot of really interesting stuff that also happens in the score that just like shows how everything in this movie is exactly in place with where it should be. I mean, in the opening bit of the movie, as she's leaving the fortune teller's place and she's walking down the stairs and the music is like in time with her footsteps, like just from the very offset of the movie, you can tell that the sound design is specifically thinking about the music and vice versa. A thing that I thought was really interesting was that the guy who plays the piano in the movie is the guy who actually made the music for the film.
Nice.
He's really cool, and he wasn't originally.
Honestly, he seems like a cool guy. Not gonna lie.
He's like everything that you would imagine that kind of music majory type person to be. He's exactly the person who should be doing that, and
also totally dateable. In my opinion.
I'll give it to him. The
lyricist other guy, not
is
as
really
much.
funny though.
Undateable, you might say.
Undateable. Oh,
I mean,
Francis reference.
He was missing a... It's fine. I feel bad saying this because the whole point of this movie is how other people perceive you and how you're not just your body and the way you look. But this one guy was missing a front tooth and it was a little off-putting.
He was so earnest though, like the bit where the music stopped and he just continued singing like straightforward, and I don't know. He's his own kind of cute, I guess, but undateable.
It's true. I'm not saying that I wouldn't be best friends with him.
Sure. I would have one or two pleasant conversations with him and then would exchange phone numbers and want to keep talking and then forget to reach out like I inevitably do with everybody.
One of those friends where you're like, yeah, we should hang out sometime soon, and then you never do.
Yeah. That's what we'd be. But Music Man, hot. We'll go with it.
Wow.
He looks like Darren Criss.
I don't know who that is.
Hot theater guy.
Ah.
I'm gonna say.
Hot theater
he was
guy.
Harry Potter in the Harry Potter musical.
I still
Excellent
need to see that.
musical.
I'll get around to it, but I've been hearing about that for a long time now. Okay, so we'll just label him as hot. That's our official statement. We have a list, and I guess this is probably the first inductee in the time that you've been on the podcast.
He's mine.
Of Pod
Dibs.
Daddies.
Dibs that man.
That's okay. Well, you got dibs on this specific Pod Daddy. Is that the term that we used? I feel like
I don't want
weird.
dibs anymore. I don't want your Pod Daddy.
But I think that's what we were calling.
I feel like we maybe used that at one point, but it was a while back.
Orson Welles.
Oh yeah,
is high up there.
That is, I think, where we started that. Maybe.
There were others though. I think Ryan Gosling is just like.
Was
kind
Humphrey
of a staple.
Bogart one?
Humphrey Bogart did get Pod Daddy status. We will count him as Pod Daddy status, but you don't have to claim him specifically because it's more creepy probably when you get dibs on a Pod Daddy.
Yeah. I just want dibs on the piano boy.
Okay. When he's piano boy, you got dibs on him. When he's Pod Daddy, we all got dibs. His name is Michel Legrand, though. Okay, and he's cool. And he wasn't going to be. This is my point. He wasn't going to be in the movie. He was just going to score it. And then Varda just kind of saw him casually chatting with people and whatever, and she's like, "Oh no, you have the charisma. You're exactly the right kind of person.
Oh,
you are this character." And so I think this is one of his earlier performances. I mean, he's more of a musician than he is an actor, but like so much charisma. Jeez. And yeah, there's a really good write up that just kind of goes step by step through each part of the score as the movie progresses, and it is interesting. I think that it uses kind of the what is it, Sautois, the Without You song that she sings, as like, once that's introduced there, it makes its appearance casually throughout the rest of the movie, kind of exploring the and like bringing out the different kinds of emotions that she's having as she's kind of still meditating on herself and on death. Like there's a lot, I think, to talk about with this movie, right? We've already talked about the idea of like nakedness. We've talked about just kind of self-image. But you can tell that Legrand is like very specifically focused on death and grieving and just kind of darkness, and using Sautois as something that's being used in completely different ways, in different contexts, in different musical stylings, until by the end, when she's with Antoine, that theme is playing, but it's like really light and happy and fine, but it's still the same thing, and it's specifically Without You, as you know, they're not going to have much time together because one, he's going, and two, things aren't looking great for her. I don't know. I just find that like another useful bit, maybe for a rewatch, or if you haven't watched the movie yet and you're somehow listening to this ramble before watching the movie,
Probably
focusing on the way that theme is used, to evoke completely different emotions out of the same idea of death, is really fascinating.
I was just going to make a comment about music,
Okay,
because
yes,
we've
please.
just talked about it,
please do.
that I didn't really notice. So I noticed when she was walking at the beginning, and I didn't notice the score except for the couple times that it was like, you know what I'm saying?
It got very intense.
And I don't even think I noticed it at the end.
Yeah,
But it
kinda
was
stood
there, and it was
out.
part of the atmosphere, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, that's something that's really interesting, I think, about, well, I mean, movies in general, once we've gotten to this era, especially when every detail is being thought about and it's not just technical limitations kind of getting in the way, but also I think just kind of part of the enjoyment of a good film, like that's at least this level of quality, right, where everything's thought about, is that every time you watch it, you can watch it focusing on a different, like not even just a different aspect of the film, but a completely different medium, right? Like you could spend the entire movie just thinking about the dialogue and just reading into like thematic things within what they're saying, and that's a separate medium from the visuals, and that's a separate medium from, you know, the music. And I don't know, I think that's the thing that like keeps me constantly, continually entertained, with movies, and why I rewatch Patterson 100 billion times with everybody I know, because how could you not? There's just so much there.
I tried to like evangelize that movie to my dad the other day. And maybe he'll watch it.
I have gotten some people to enjoy it and some people to not give a single shit at all.
Yeah.
I've told one person to watch it, and so far that one person loved it, so I feel like one for one, I might as well stop.
That's pretty good. Hey, no, the Patterson evangelism must never die. We must bring as many souls with us.
I literally
into the
think about
Jarmusch
Patterson
afterlife.
every single day at this time when the light shines on my wall, and it's so pretty, and I'm like, the light shines on them every morning, and they're snuggling, and it's so cute.
It really is. Stop. Don't
And
make me
that's all I
cry. I love how, this is a complete detour now, but I love how like weird and silly and kind of laughable she is at times, and how the movie just kind of like subtly, like lovingly acknowledges that, but it's not like enough to transform the movie into a comedy, or to like pit them against each other, or to make her a character without depth. It's just that she's kind of weird, and that's it. I don't know. I think that's delightful. That's the thing that when I first watched the movie confused me, I guess, as I was like, why are weird things happening? But it's like the movie isn't commenting on it. And then I realized it's just not poking fun at her. It's just not, it's kind of deadpan. This is just what happens, and you can see his reaction, and it doesn't need to do that commentary on you to tell you that you need to laugh. I don't know. It's great.
Well, I mean, bringing it back to Cleo from 5 to 7, but in a sense, they're the most real with each other. There are laughable things about Cleo's behavior, and she's very silly, but what did we say his name was?
Antoine, I guess.
Antoine. Okay, that is what I was going to say. He doesn't laugh at her, and he doesn't mock her for being vain, and he doesn't mock her for not loving her lover with all of her. Like, he says, women don't give their full selves. They're always afraid to. They hold back. But he doesn't mock her in that, so I feel like it does connect because both movies are relationship goals.
That's true.
I'm kidding, but
Yeah,
I mean, kind of not.
I feel like they're both really good, and they're so good that like my pessimism is like unrealistic, but but also they're more real than other, like, I don't watch something like The Notebook and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what I want in my life. And even though there's lots of aspects of Pride and Prejudice that like totally feed into the way I think about everything all the time, it's not also like, I don't look at Elizabeth and Darcy and like, that's what I want, right? Because you never really see them have a relationship.
No.
Really. You see them dance around it until they decide, okay, I guess this is where we're at. But
and then it ends.
but yeah, here we get to see like something that just automatically works. Sorry, go ahead.
Speaking of, did you see they put the old Pride and Prejudice miniseries on HBO Max?
I did.
You can watch it.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's the best.
It's really good.
That's the one I grew up on, and it'll always be better
best
than
one.
the new one.
It's
Even though the
objectively
new
the
one's
best
really
one.
pretty.
It is really pretty. And I'm kind of ostracized from our friend group because I don't think that the Mr. Darcy in that movie is half as attractive as Colin Firth.
No, you and me both. That's
Okay,
why we're
okay,
twins.
right.
Can is the only one who doesn't like Colin Firth, and she can
Alicia as well.
go have her own opinion.
It's a thing. I can assure you. But we've had many experiences. I mean, I specifically think of that one time that we had a friend who was talking about how the miniseries was not as good as the movie. And then we discovered that they hadn't ever seen the miniseries.
Yes. Literally,
problem.
that was my best friend Maddie. We're still best friends. I'm not saying like that
before
we're not friends
we heard
anymore.
that
Until
she
this
hadn't seen the
conversation.
miniseries,
No.
it's over.
It was a 3-year-long argument. Every time she came over, we would argue about this. And 3 years into our friendship, she was like, oh yeah, I haven't even seen it. Maddie,
Yeah, I don't know.
get your life together.
That's rough. But hey, we watched it all the way through right then.
We did.
And
in
I
one
might
sitting.
have skipped out at one point to walk all the way across the city to go watch Knives Out, but I was there for most of it.
Worth it.
Because that's how long the miniseries is, and it's delightful, and I love it, and I will watch it a million times over.
good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So what does that have to do with any? Oh yeah, right. It's
Romance.
not.
Relationship goals.
That isn't exactly relationship goals in the way that this is. Even though I still feel like Antoine says things that are just misogynist and upset me, but like clearly not in like he doesn't devalue Cleo, even though he says things that are like,
Well, and even just the fact that he saw her standing by the water and was like, hey, what's
Hey.
up? And she's like, I just love the quiet. And he's like, me too. And she's like,
yeah, that I forget about it every time because at first that bit is so off-putting of him. Like I just hate it. And then by the end
Yeah.
of the movie, like within, 5
20
minutes, I'm like
minutes?
into it. Just
Yeah.
he's the best.
yeah. Also dateable, in my opinion. He has a nice face.
He does. He's not my type, but he does. I'll give it
Valid.
that, My type is Orson Welles.
Period.
Excuse me while I Google Orson Welles.
Holy crap. This is a crime. Like an actual crime to be on this podcast and not have an image of Orson Welles permanently burned into your brain.
We'll just have a fourth camera set up here on the call. That's just a picture of Orson Welles, and it just
Okay,
says
this Orson Welles,
the French.
I'd be okay with.
Yeah.
I like him when he's got a beard. I don't know.
Oh, I was about to show you a picture of him with a beard and say no thank you. He just looks scary.
Well, not when he looks angry like that. You have to see him in motion. He's okay. So if you are at all interested, yeah, he's nice. He's a bit older there, and it's fine. Hey, I don't need to be shamed for this. Orson Welles is great. He's great.
Hey, if you're listening only, you should check the YouTube for behind the scenes shots of Orson Welles.
Just watch the opening scene of F for Fake, and then you'll get it.
Okay.
Even though he's significantly old there.
Okay.
He's amazing.
Moving on.
No, okay, I need to defend this real quick.
Okay.
Before I will my piece will be very short, and then we can move on with what matters.
Continue.
Orson Welles is the patron saint of this podcast. He is perhaps the best actor that we've had featured in this lineup so far. I would say he's given the best performance of anybody. I would say also arguably should be considered amongst one of the greatest actors of the era, as well as probably the greatest director maybe of all time. Anyway, that's all. That's my thought.
Wow.
Yep,
Good
that's
to
my
know.
statement. You should watch Citizen Kane.
I feel a little chastised.
That's my statement. Watch Citizen Kane and cry over how perfect it is.
Okay.
It's pretty good.
And also, you have to stan Orson Welles to be on this podcast.
You know.
Okay.
You know who?
My name is I, Anna Chase, hereby certify that I stan Orson Welles. Back to the movie. We're talking about relationship goals.
Yeah.
And I just, not to be tacky, but I want to read the last paragraph of my review on Letterboxd. So it says, I want to be seen. I want to be naked before someone and have them take the time and the stillness to look at me. I want them to trust me enough to let me see them for who they are. No wigs, no selfish fantasies, no fear. Just the naked first day of summer stillness of themselves. And I feel like I just looked at your name and you just
too.
threw me off. No. I'm just thinking about what it means to be real and vulnerable with someone and the cost of letting them see you. And I guess in some ways wanting to be worth it, if that makes sense. Like I want someone to deem me as worthy of them, if that makes sense. And I want to find someone that's worthy of me. I don't know. Musings.
Yeah, I mean, hey, when you sent that to me originally, I did cry over that bit. Yeah, that's beautiful. I think that's really well put. I think that's it's weird because this movie feels like it has so many different things that you could like get from it, but that feels like it's the main, like most important piece from it. Is the first day of summer nakedness, as you put it.
It makes me think of a poem. Let me find it.
Weird.
Oh, I don't know how to search for it. I listened to a podcast. Maybe if I find it, I'll link it in the description.
Yeah.
But it's a poem, and the poet's wife is taking art classes, and she's doing like human body drawings. They have a nude modeler. I don't know how to, like a nude model. Anyway. And he feels really insecure because he's like, oh my gosh, my wife is like looking at this naked man and drawing him. Like, that's so awkward for me. Now she's seen someone else naked. What do I do with this? And so they decide she's going to draw him nude and he's going to write a poem about her. And it's a really beautiful poem. And part of what strikes me about this poem and what the podcaster was talking about was that his poem doesn't describe her naked or whatever, and her drawing is just his head and shoulders, and almost that when you're that intimate with someone, it doesn't have to be like a vulgar naked portrait. It's that you can really see them for who they are and their realness, and that doesn't have to be their just like body. I don't know if this makes sense,
No,
but like that's what I
yeah.
mean about nakedness, where it's like the vulnerability to not need to be naked all the time. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Yeah. Dang. You come in here with like truth bombs and philosophical thoughts, and I am at a loss for words as to how to respond to them other than to sit and just go, But it's a
Yes.
podcast.
It's hard. Ooh.
You have to get good at the Yoda one.
I just realized I want to make the Lego Star Wars Yoda death sound one of our
Yes.
sound buttons.
Oh my gosh, it has to be.
That would be awesome.
That's
Sorry, that would be
Please
really.
do.
That might be really annoying, but I just
No,
realized
I
that
think
I
that's
could
okay.
do that, and I'm like,
It could be the philosophy button.
Ooh.
Anna, stop philosophizing.
That's a good impression of that noise.
I had my time
think we
playing
should-
Lego Star Wars.
We should also get the button when Orson Welles goes, "Moi, the French."
yes. We should have had that for like our last few French
We
movies.
should have had it every single
We're
time.
gonna miss our chance.
I almost chatted that. I was saying that aloud to myself throughout most of this movie. I should have chatted it, but I don't know if I'd sent that to you, so I didn't know if it'd make any sense because
No.
when I was in person with you and somebody brought up the French, I did that and everybody just ignored me like I didn't say anything. And I was like, I definitely did not show that to anybody. But Orson Welles, in his late career, very like tragically could not get any of his projects off the ground, and so he did these wine commercials,
Oh,
and he got very drunk for some of them, and it's just completely unusable. But there's the blooper footage online of just him
please send that
trying
to me.
to say things over and over again and just getting it so wrong. It's so good.
sad, but it's so funny.
Yeah, it's really depressing with context, but without context, it's very funny.
Cool.
So,
As is
yeah.
life.
Well,
We'll make that one of our buttons as well.
if we have some more French films on the way,
Yeah.
then hopefully we can make use of it. Or even if we just discuss them.
Yeah, or just bring up Orson Welles anyway.
Whatever.
It'll come up. I mean, okay. So that's specifically why I put Francis Ha on the list, is because I wanted to come back to the French New Wave after the context of so much else happening in film, and see how Noah Baumbach is just somehow magically able to do the French New Wave again. Because I think it's bonkers.
great.
I think a lot of people are just kind of, oh yeah, it's French New Wave inspired and move on. But I really think what he's doing there is like very in line with a lot of those sentiments. And I honestly think if we're doing your wine and cheese pairing, or like your double feature of movies, I would put these ones together specifically because they're both talking about, I think, being known. But one of them in more of a romantic context and one of them very much not. Anyway, so we'll get to that in like a year.
Tune in next year.
Sad.
Well,
Oh, well.
man, it's weird thinking about how much there is upcoming. Like, we've only made it like a third of the way through,
Yep.
but we've been doing this, and I'm so tired.
Wow. I can't keep going.
I've had a really good time. I so far have yet to watch a movie that I legitimately just hate. Like, I will shit on Gone with the Wind because it's worth shitting on, but there were aspects of that movie that I really did enjoy. I don't know. It's been good to be able to see the fullness of film, even though we skipped over some important stuff like Italian neorealism.
Can't get it all.
Yeah.
Can't get it all.
Anyway, I highly recommend first watching the movie and then reading this article on the music.
Ooh.
That's my task for the audience. Do we have any final thoughts or ratings or rankings?
I have two topics that I want to briefly bring up.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the characterization in this movie. How there were just characters who could kind of come and go, often very briefly, but still felt like they were interesting. Like, I guess the taxi driver specifically just kind of left an impact, being like, I don't know, she was, you know, she's only there for just a few minutes, but I was like, you have interesting stories to tell.
Mhm.
And you're kind of an interesting person, and you bring out different attitudes about women from the two women that you were driving around.
Yeah.
Which was kind of interesting.
Yeah, because her
I don't know
her
Yeah.
minder. I
Yeah,
don't know.
sure.
Was just like, oh, she's cool.
Yeah,
and
it's
Cleo's
like,
like,
I think she has
"Ugh,
courage."
disgusting.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. That was interesting, and there's some things perhaps to be said about how the movie treats feminism and such, which is kind of cool too. So I liked that. That was good. And also the cinematography was very interesting. I
Such
thought
good cinema.
there were, especially just, I think I noticed it more in the first half, but just like the camera would do like these interesting like zooms. And there's a part, I think, when they're playing the piano and doing the songs, and like I
and
think
it's
there's
like
a part where
swaying.
there was the swaying bit, which was very weird. I feel like I've never seen anything like that. Just kind of like casually, like it wasn't focused on anything a lot of the time. It was just kind of like moving to the music,
Although
and it
you
was
got
weird.
to see all the kittens fighting in the background,
God,
which was so
kittens, they were so good.
Ugh.
Or there's just one point, I think, also in the music where it would just focus on like someone's hand and then swing up to someone's face and then swing over to someone else's face. I don't know. It would just occasionally do very dynamic, interesting things. And then obviously, I don't know how much of it was legitimately done, I guess, but lots of stuff again involving moving cars and driving around that seemed to be.
I mean, it had to
legit, I
be real.
guess.
It didn't look
At
like
least
it
some of
was projected.
Yeah, like it seemed like they were doing all that just on location, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, you really do just get to like sit there in a car as they're like you're in the back seat perspective, just driving through Paris in the 60s, and you just get to see it, and it's amazing for that alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's interesting even to compare this to like Roman Holiday, which we covered previously, which like tries to give you this sense of, you know, Rome as they're, you know, just walking through Rome, traveling around Rome. But I don't feel like you get as good of a sense of that city. It feels like it's, you know, still kind of dramatized, etc. Way more than this is, which is just like being in a city, which is always what I want to do when I travel, is just feel like I'm just present in it rather than like seeing the sights. So I appreciate it for that.
Oh my gosh, it's like you're actually seeing it for what it is. You've stripped away all of the vanity and the wigs and the selfish
Wow.
ambition, and you're just seeing it
And
in
you're
its
just
naked
seeing
form.
it in its naked form. That's great. That's fantastic. That's really what all of this is. And I feel like maybe that's a theme in Varda. I've only seen one other movie, like film of hers, but that one is just, there is like even less, you know, cinematizing. It's even more just flat. Like you're just witnessing these people. In that movie, it's her first one, La Pointe Court, which is usually considered like maybe the first French New Wave film. Is just these people in like abject poverty in these weird conditions, and you're just kind of sitting there with them as like a child dies. Like there's a lot, and you're just in it with these people.
Wow.
I don't know. It's fascinating stuff. I have only seen 2 movies of hers, and they're both kind of masterpieces in my opinion. And it's a shame that Aiden wasn't able to be on, because I know he really, really likes Agnes Varda. But he is quarantined.
Poor guy.
But yeah,
Join us next time, probably.
yeah, and maybe we can get a rant about
a rant?
Agnes Varda next time. That'd be very exciting. I would like it.
Indeed.
Yeah, I don't know. More to think. Now I feel like I need to rewatch it.
Me too.
I'll
But
do it.
it's
I'm also
really,
writing a paper kind of about Seventh Seal, so that's on my mind. I'm like, I'll just watch the whole thing again. It's like, no, Anna, your paper is due tonight.
I have had that problem even with my my thesis of being like, I can just rewatch Kurosawa movies, and then realizing that I never have 3-hour chunks to spare somehow, and they're always 3 hours long, and I need to watch 3 of them but it's so much easier if I just go to the scene that I was thinking of to write on, and then like.
But you gotta get it in context.
But and I do, but I don't have time, and I'm stressed. Anyway, it's fine. It's great. I've just been doing individual close readings for the majority of my thesis, and I actually think it's working. I feel good about it. I'm excited to, Aiden, I will reveal this now, like it's a magical, big, important thing for the one person still listening. We are considering doing a like sort of YouTube series that goes through the history of film, but more kind of in condensed specific chunks of different movements and directors, kind of taking from a lot of the people that we have covered and a lot of the movies we've covered, but repackaging that and bringing in more context. And we will get to the one where I am just going on a big long Kurosawa rant, essentially presenting my thesis. So that one will be probably not fun at all for anybody, but I will get it off my chest.
We should get you in like business attire and give you like a lectern and a laser pointer.
I could do it. You can pull it off. Yeah. I am planning on probably TAing for a class in Japanese film in the future, in which case I will be giving lectures in that class. So this is, I guess, good practice for that.
I think I decided to change my minor to English because I want to take all of the English classes, and I already know from my roommate that all of the intercultural studies classes are lame.
Then
so that's gonna happen.
You should definitely do it. Also, like intercultural studies, like your whole life is intercultural experience anyway, right? So you already kind of know what you're doing.
Just like respect people. It's not that hard, y'all.
That's true. Cool. Do we have any final like thoughts, rankings? Is this your favorite movie we've watched so far?
I think my hot take is that this movie is pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Controversial,
debatable.
Take, but,
You know, I just because I need to be devil's advocate here. Fuck this movie.
Get out!
Shit. 5 stars, but also 0 out of 10. Don't recommend, but watch it, please.
Just put a
I'm
5-star
kicking
review.
you out.
I hated it.
You should, honestly. No, but it is really good, and I would say that it's probably up there in the top echelons. I think it's probably the only movie we've covered that made me tear up. So there's that. It specifically the Saint-Ouen moment is what got me. When it just like all of a sudden she's singing to the camera and there's just a straight black backdrop, and then all of the like strings come in even though they're not actually there in the scene, and it just everything about that bit is like fascinating.
Yeah.
Anyway, but you know, it wasn't Hollywood, it wasn't American, so it didn't like, you know, win Best Picture or something like that. You know,
it could have though.
It should have, but you know, we got our weird, stupid Hollywood bias that has really been frustrating the more we watch these movies, because I really feel like you could split the movies down. Hollywood is the bottom half, and then like everything else is the top half of these movies for me. There's still some good stuff in there, and then of course you have Orson Welles breaking all of the rules by being a magical American somehow, which shouldn't be possible. Anyway, I'm done.
He's just like that.
5
Hunter,
out of
do you
5.
have a quote for us?
Yeah.
As we say when we end the podcast, and for once we're prepared to do the thing.
I'm probably gonna misquote it.
Are you gonna say it in French? Go.
No,
You have to
I
do it
don't
in
know
French.
French.
No.
I just want to give the best piece of advice I've ever gotten from a movie ever, which is never wear new clothes on a Tuesday.
Why did you snap when I was gonna snap? That's not fair.
Just, you know,
Because I'm a snapper.
Dang it.
I just had no idea, and now that's gonna like change how I live my life. So
I know. You better be careful.
Because you are always shopping on Tuesday specifically,
know.
and you get so excited. and you just instantly want to put it on. Whatever you.
I mean, that's what you do. Tuesdays are the best days of the week.
Tuesdays are number one shopping days for me. I think. I
They're
try
just
to
my
log
favorite
it.
day.
Yeah. Well, no. Okay, I hate Tuesdays for anything else. But for specifically clothes shopping, I feel like I get good results.
Huh.
Yeah.
Hunter has an opinion about Tuesdays.
I don't, but I just thought. Wait,
You look like you were really excited to say something.
Oh,
I want to make sure you say it.
I did. I was just. It wasn't about Tuesdays. Well, it just made. I got to thinking about. Oh, like it was funny how like superstitious they were about stuff like that. Just consistently bringing up things like that was just kind of funny. Which also made me remember that it was very interesting that the tarot cards bit in the beginning was in color.
Yeah, we didn't even
Dude.
talk about that.
I literally didn't realize that
Yeah.
until the end of the movie. And you texted me and you were like, did you notice? And I was like,
It was so interesting because, like, yeah, towards the end of that scene, like, literally cutting back and forth between the cards in color and their faces in black and white, and just like back and forth. I was like, whoa, this is weird but interesting.
I noticed that it was like a really crisp, like we're seeing the cards and then we finally
Yeah.
get to see their face. But I didn't notice that it went to black and white because I'm, I guess, not paying attention.
That's the bit that stood out to me most when I first watched the movie. It when people talk about like movies that transition from black and white to color or whatever, and as we've discussed, Wizard of Oz should not be counted because it's technically sepia. But and so they're like still filming with color stock, I think, for that. I don't remember how it worked. We went through it and it was a weird episode that I don't think we actually put up on YouTube. I think that was the one episode we forgot to put on
I don't
YouTube.
know how I missed that.
Which
or
is good.
Whatever happened.
Because we had some very controversial takes on that episode.
Yikes.
But that's the bit that stood out to me most, is like the cinematography of those cards and it just looking so drastically different between the faces. And I still don't know what the significance of that is.
I don't know.
But it's really interesting.
Yeah, I liked that, and I liked how they put some of the opening titles on top of the cards as she was laying them out. That was kind of cool too.
It's really cool. Yeah, Agnes Varda is kind of not fair, right? Like, everything about this movie is so interesting. Like, the music is fantastic, and like they had to record all of these songs and write all of this stuff in addition to doing the score, and the score is perfectly in time with everything. And then on top of that, the cinematography is really interesting. It's like a very notable film that transitions from color to black and white and never goes back. There's so many magical, amazing, weird things about this movie that are just exactly in time, and then when you watch it, it's just one cohesive whole that already just has a lot of thematic things to talk about. So I don't know, it's good. It's good.
Good movie.
Give it 5.
Oh.
That's my rating.
Thank you.
I nodded for the audio listeners.
Yeah.
Now we all yawed. Yawed.
Yod.
I said yawed. We all yawed.
We all yawed now.
It's yawding time.
Yes.
I think I'm gonna go yawding now.
It's yawding time. It's ending the potting time. We'll see you later, guys.
Bye.
Join us next week. Join us next week for Harakiri.
Oh yeah. Oh shit.
Exciting movie.
That's gonna be. I'm gonna have to rant again. Dang it.
Oh no!
I'm
Buckle your
sorry.
seatbelts, kids.
Thank goodness, another movie this will be my second watch for. Hooray.
Hooray.
So I maybe have a better grasp on talking about it.
Yeah, that one's gonna be fun. All right, see it.
Bye. I'm gonna stop recording
That was
now.
weird.
I will also stop recording.
Boop.
I feel like
fine.
I feel like we pulled it together in the end, but it has, the feeling of like, oh, it's been too long since we've been recording, and so
It's okay.
whatever. Thank you for bringing in
I feel like we're out.
all the good things, Anna. Again, saving my butt every time.
No, we tag team because you're like the music, and I'm like, I was too busy thinking about. I was about to say I was too busy thinking about being naked, but that's not what I was.
That's a good way to put it.
It's more complicated than it sounds.
And we have stopped recording, right, everyone? Yep.
The audio's still recording. Should I stop it?
No, we're still recording.
Hey, show that video of the wine man.
That's what I was gonna do.
Oh, wow. Hey, I got these cupcakes. This is what I was eating last night. They're,
Still can't do.
I'm just going to read you. Gluten-free, dairy-free, egg-free, soy-free, rice-free, corn-free, potato-free, coconut-free, and canola-free.
Is it air?
What's left?
It's really good, though.
That's incredible. How does that happen?
I don't know, but they're really good.
Food and make it good.
I mean, like, they're kind of dry,
Wait.
but they're free of everything.
That's kind of amazing. Mm-hmm. Let me do it, Anna.
I did. Take a chill pill.
Okay.
Deal with your hormones.
Welcome to.
Hey, make sure you share computer
Oh my
audio
gosh.
too.
Yes. Oh. It like knows. Wait, let me come back to.
The French.
Yeah,
Orson
share
Welles
computer audio.
remix.
Where do I go
no.
to the thing?
Unshare.
Unshare. Stop share.
And then if you, like, when you open up the window and it's like share screen, then you, like, say share computer audio. It's, like, down in the bottom left.
Share sound. There we go.
Yep.
Richard.
Kiss, kiss, Tarkon.
Am I? Oh,
Your
I'm.
microphone audio is muted, which is how you wanted it. I think.
Oh, but I'm trying
I don't
Oh,
know.
but I can still hear you.
I don't know.
Okay.
If, well, yeah, our both of our microphones are coming through my end.
I'm
Just
trying to
fed
get
into
it to-
my computer.
Wow.
Yeah.
to. Okay, here we are.
Let's see how the computer audio goes.
I can't hear
Yeah, I
it.
don't think it's working.
I can't hear it, but this is funny anyway. Oh, there it goes,
Oh.
maybe.
Yeah. Maybe. Yes.
Action Orson, please.
Okay, yeah. That's working.
Just do anything?
No, sorry, cut. You're rolling. 102, take 2.
Ah, the French champagne has always been celebrated for its excellence. There is a California champagne by Paul Masson, inspired by that same French excellence. It's fermented in the bottle, and like the best French champagne, it's vintage dated. So
Cut.
Paul Masson.
102, take 3.
102, take
Action,
3.
please.
Ah, the French champagne has always been celebrated for its excellence. There is a California champagne by
There's a
Paul
California
Masson,
champagne.
inspired by that same French excellence. It's fermented in the bottle, and like the best French champagne, it's vintage dated. So
Cut.
Paul Masson.
Imagine being told that, like, oh, you're gonna work with the greatest actor of all time, greatest
That
director.
lady looks so bored. She's just like,
He's not having it.
the French.
Then you just have to sit there through that for I don't even know how long. But it is interesting because there are also outtakes of him like being fully sober at like other ad reads and him critiquing the ad, and like his critiques are like really on point and like very interesting when he's like, and he's the only person that's like when he's like, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you're talking about, that it should be this way. He's the only person who can be right about that, and it's
Yeah.
great. Anyway,
Classic Orson.
I like that guy.
Classic
It's weird that that's
Orson.
going to be your first introduction to him, and then you're going to go watch like the masterpiece of masterpieces. Actually, so far I've seen 4 of his movies, and every single one of them could be considered that. Like he just bonkers. And
Wait,
also-
is he the guy in As You Like It? No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Just
would've
kidding.
been dead,
Ignore my whole
I
face.
think. Yeah, I think he died in '85.
Yeah, I think that movie came out in like the early 2000s. It's the Kenneth Branagh one.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, probably not.
not in that one. But he did do a version of Othello, which is like very well known and well regarded. He also did one of Macbeth. He's done a few Shakespeare adaptations. And he also did F for Fake, which is like that's a symbol from that movie.
Is it really?
I feel like, yeah.
Bruh, I'm psychic.
The entire movie is like, yeah, Oh, that's what it was.
Oh my gosh! Wait,
Yeah.
this.
That, yeah.
Except it's this side.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It doesn't look like he's actually holding anything. There's maybe
No.
like, or no.
Hey,
maybe it is.
It's
I don't
so
know.
cool.
It looks smoky or something.
It's narrative, but it's also a documentary, but it's also not, and it literally doesn't fit into a genre. What?
Have you guys seen Baraka by
Not
Ron
yet.
Frick?
We've talked about that. I can't remember what the
It's
last.
freaking amazing! Oh my gosh, it blew my whole world.
Ron frickin' amazing.
Amazing!
I think I have it on my Yeah, I have
It's
it on
the
my watch
only
list.
movie that I digitally own. I bought it on Google Play for $2. It's mine. It's so good. I watched it with Tim, and it was the last movie that we watched in the first summer of movie club, and like he kind of had been like secretly planning like the whole season to like build up to that movie.
That's
so like
cool.
we watched like Faces Places. I think Faces Places was the one we watched right before this one, which is a Agnes Varda and JR movie. Very good. It's kind of like a non-narrative documentary, but this one is a non-narrative documentary, and it's just like beautiful things. Like there's not, it's like, okay, we're gonna watch the rainfall for 20 seconds now, and then we're gonna watch this monkey like taking a bath, and then we're gonna watch traffic for a little bit, and it like doesn't really have anything to it, but because we're humans, our brains are like, there's a story, there's a puzzle, I must solve it, and so we solve it, and the entire secret of the world is solved after you watch the movie, because your brain is like, oh my gosh, the meaning of life.
It's very like Koyaanisqatsi. Is that how you pronounce that?
Yeah.
I guess I should stop recording.